Hello, hello, everybody. Corstian dressed really nice. Looks like he's came straight from the workforce. Um, looking great, my guy. How are you doing?
Mhm. Doing all right, just chilling. Yeah.
I all I gotta say is Tucker Craft. I owe you an apology, my guy. um, it's,
hmm
I was clowning Corstian for having him in the top 10, and what did he do week two? 6 receptions, 124 yards, and one touchdown. And on top of
Yeah.
that, I was so looking forward to trash talking my Michigan coworkers Monday. And then what happens? The Lions drop 52 on their
Yeah.
former offensive coordinator, and now I'm just miserable as ever. So basically,
hmm
the universe hates me, and
hmm
I need to root for a different team. So yeah, that is how I'm doing, Question.
Yeah. Yeah. 52 points was brutal. Obviously not as brutal as the Broncos 70-point loss against the Dolphins 2 years ago now, but uh I feel like the team's futures, like the vision of the future was in two different spots at this point at least. But hopefully the Bears can bounce back still.
Lions scored double-digit points in every single quarter.
hmm
So yeah, that's how you get to 52, guys. But I mean that Colts. Speaking of the Colts and Broncos game,
hmm
that was rough. That
Yeah.
was. I get the penalty, but to have that happen, that's the way it happened. But also, Bo Nix should not thrown an interception of five like that. That was a rough one. But
Yeah.
yeah, I. So both of us kind of suffered this week, but
hmm
um, good news for you. Chiefs are 0-2. So
Yeah,
with
that's always
that,
fun to
go ahead
see.
with some of your observations. What are some of the start with your biggest takeaway from week two?
um, I guess this is kind of a hot take, but I think the Jaguars need to move on somehow from Trevor Lawrence almost just as badly, not quite as badly, but almost just as badly as the Dolphins need to move on from Tua Tagovailoa.
I don't blame you. If I'm
Right?
looking at Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter and how they're being utilized so far, it is crazy. But I also have a take
hmm
on that. I
Yeah.
can try and dig up one clip where um, Brian Thomas does not look like the same guy he does last year up until this point. There's one
hmm
play where I think it's an interception or just like a misconnection where he is unwilling to take a hit, and it led to a direct turnover. Um,
But
I'm
that's
gonna try
exactly
and look it up.
why. That's exact. That I know what clip you're talking about, and that's exactly why I'm like Trevor Lawrence has got to go. Like, why is he throwing a hospital ball to Brian Thomas like that? Brian Thomas goes for that catch. He gets collided with. I'd say he's probably out for the game. He goes for that catch with that kind of like you think like a defender full speed at him in one direction, and then Brian Thomas having to go try to make the catch in the exact opposite direction. That is a hospital ball. That's why Chris Olave has been hurt with concussions like the entirety of his career with Derek Carr. It's because Derek Carr threw a bunch of hospital balls towards Chris Olave, which resulted in like a million concussions. Is that what you want from Brian Thomas? Like, would you rather Chris Olave not gone for half of those hospital balls and then been fully healthy the rest of the season, or he makes that singular catch, gets that concussion, and is out for like 4 weeks? Like that's my take here, and that's why I'm like Trevor Lawrence is almost a glorified Derek Carr. It seems.
And I don't know. I don't know what's going on. You see, like, there's this clip. I'm watching clips where Liam Cohen is like beating his chest. It's like, what is going on? And you could tell he had a lot more to say, but it's like this is like I just see him missing receivers bad, and especially with Joe Burrow out, like they should have won that game. They should
For
100%
sure.
have won that game.
Yeah, especially now you can't blame it on like the rushing attack because Travis Etienne is balling out like crazy. And then Bashal Tutin, they're like what, their third round rookie running back, also happens to ball out too. So it's like your running backs are
He looks
fine.
fantastic. If I were if I were some of you guys, I would pick him up on the waiver wire
hmm
right now, even if it doesn't look like he's like stat padding, because all it takes is one ETN injury. He's looking great right now, but in my opinion, I would rather have Tuden than ETN at this point of the season.
Yeah, and I think both will be serviceable throughout the rest of the season, just because both of them are playing like superstars right now. But then it goes to show, yeah, it's like Trevor Lawrence got to be able to close out the games, and you're like, honestly, obviously they beat the Panthers pretty handily week 1, but I feel like the offense still struggled a fair amount against the Panthers, which I think are regarded as one of the worst teams in the league. But also, I mean, Xavier Legette sucks super big time, it seems. But that's beyond the point with the Panthers. But yeah, and so that's my first take from like this week at least is like Trevor Lawrence, and like it's tricky too because we've kind of entered this phase in the league of paying these like mid-20s, like these basically these quarterbacks entering their second contract, ridiculous deals for mediocre play. And it puts these teams in like absolutely salary cap hell, and you're like what can you do realistically? Because obviously, moving on from T-Law is a huge, it's sunk cost fallacy, right? Where you're like you spent all this money, you have all this guaranteed money going to T-Law, but like at least with the Jaguars, I don't envision him ever winning a Super Bowl with this team at like the rate of his development.
I have a clip right now that I'm gonna pull up.
Okay.
And let's see here. So this is just something I found in week 2. Basically, this is Brian Thomas, or actually, no, it's not Brian Thomas. So Brian Thomas is over here. Trevor Lawrence is letting this ball go. Right now, it looks great because he's found the open hole in the zone. This is exactly what you want to see. And you got to throw it on time. Well, where does Trevor Lawrence place this ball? Right here, right into the waiting arms of these two defenders. So it forces Brian Thomas to make a decision on like, okay, how am I going to catch this ball and observe the contact at the same time? So one, this is just bad placement by Trevor Lawrence because look at all this open space he could have thrown the ball to, away from those two defenders that are closer to him. Yeah, like Brian Thomas is moving the opposite way, but you led him into these two defenders. I probably wouldn't have done that. I probably would have done like towards his right shoulder, like where his right shoulder was currently. Give him a chance to adjust and go upfield. But he doesn't do that. So what happens? Brian Thomas doesn't try so hard to get the ball. So it's on both of them. One for the placement and one for Brian Thomas not trying to secure the catch. But again, hospital ball here. I don't know if this is a pick or not. This looks like an incomplete pass. But when you're seeing that and a lack of precision that you don't really get to scout in the college game, that is bad. Here's a better view, I guess. So you see there's a little bit more space. So it's not on Trevor Lawrence from like the current view we have. But still, look at the effort. Like he only used one hand to try and catch that ball. And it didn't look like he was trying very hard with that one hand to catch it. So when you have those things going on, it's like a disconnect between arguably your top receiver on the roster right now and your quarterback. A lot of bad things are going to happen. And when you're waving off your OC in the middle of the game, this is why things look like they do for the Jaguars. They look much improved from the Urban Meyer team, definitely, for sure. But when you see things like this, this is not great. Like, you never want to be put in this situation where you're trying to throw off your back foot with a defender leaning on you, and you only have this much of the field to work in. Like, because then you limit your options right here. So there's a couple things where I see what you're saying with Trevor Lawrence too, but it's kind of like where the Bears are at right now too with their offense. It's kind of like multiple people are at fault here.
Yeah, but like I think a lot of wide receivers don't go for that catch as well. Just like with with the poor throw. Obviously, I think there's a world where he does catch that, but there's also a world where he goes for the catch and just gets completely cleared and doesn't catch it anyways. And you're like, it's a business at the end of the day too. And it's like I think that was a valid business decision.
Yeah. I guess my first observation is, dang, the Cowboys went completely 180 on defense. Like
Mhm.
they've had issues stopping the run, according to Jerry Jones, and like just watching them play. Like when they that playoff game that people can't seem to let go against Green Bay Packers, they just completely wet the bed as a number 2 seed and
Mhm.
allowed Jordan Love and company to come in and just absolutely demolish them
Mhm.
within the running game. So they go out and get Kenny Clark by trading away Michael Parsons. We dealt in that in detail. But you're looking, and I know Deron Bland wasn't playing in this game. But if you're looking at the box score, like between this Giants game and the Cowboys game, like going into this game, this is one of their winnable games, and they did win this. So I don't want to critique or judge too harshly. But they won this game in overtime, and they could have lost it after a crazy deep ball of Russell Wilson's, like one attempt out of 30 attempts for 450 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and that interception came in OT,
Mhm.
which was a terrible one. But you lost by giving up 48-yard touchdowns to Malik Neighbors, 50-yard touchdowns to Wando Robinson, 52-yard catch to Darius Slayton. But the running game was not a big factor for the Giants, but Russell Wilson thrown for a career high 450 yards was. This defense is a problem, and for all the qualms I have against the Bears' offensive consistency, like this is the one matchup I'm looking forward to if I'm a Bears fan because
Mhm.
the Dallas pass defense is terrible. Like
Mhm.
we've had this complaint about Trayvon Diggs since he entered the league, where it's like he's so great at picking out passes, but he's very
Mhm.
inconsistent down to down. And this needed every ounce of Dak being Dak and Javonte Williams going for that 30-yard touchdown for them to even eke out of this one.
Mhm.
And Brandon Aubrey,
Yeah.
can't forget about him.
The
That
real MVP of the
64-yard
game.
field goal to tie the game was insane. But if I'm the Cowboys at home, that it shouldn't have come to that.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're like yeah, like honestly, I mean, like, and the offense really stalled out like in overtime for both teams, really. Where you're like, because it's like, oh, you got the ball, you're like, okay, this is safe, just get your points. And you gotta punt the ball away, and then the Giants have to punt it, and it's like, no way do both these offenses stall out in overtime of all places.
Because they combined for 41 points in the fourth quarter. 41.
Yeah.
And how did they get that field goal? It's because Russell Wilson made a really bad mistake. Like I feel bad. That's a really bad mistake. But that kind of gifted the Cowboys to win there.
Yeah. But also I would say like the Giants did a solid job running the ball. I mean, they didn't have like a crazy stat line, but I think both running backs had decent yards per carry, if I'm remembering correctly off the top of my head. Where Scatterboo, he looked pretty solid. Giants, Cowboys, Bucks.
So Scatterboo had 11 carries for 45 yards, 24-yard gainer. Next best ball carry was Russell Wilson, 3 for 23 yards. Tyrone Tracy only had 5 carries, 15 yards out of that. So that's kind of the breakdown.
So it was a pass that I saw from Tyrone Tracy. But I mean, like, yeah. But I mean, averaging the 4 yards a carry, and obviously when Russell Wilson was going the way he was, you don't need to run the ball necessarily. But I will say Scatterboo looked good. I think that's just because he's a solid power runner. I
think he's the running back one in this offense?
Oh, from this week, I think he is, just with the amount of touches that he got as the leading rusher for this team. But yeah, Cowboys defense gotta figure out something, and it's like I just look at like Micah Parsons and I'm like, dang, Cowboys could really use a true game changer like Parsons here, especially like I think about how bad the Giants offensive line was, right? Like James Hudson getting benched after the first drive, their starting left tackle, because of 4 back-to-back penalties that he committed is crazy. And so you have a guy behind that dude playing, and it's like that, and you're letting Russell Wilson throw 450 on you like that, and that's the quality of the Giants offensive line right now. Like, come on, man. Nobody
No wonder
else
they got Clowney. That's all I gotta say.
Yes, I mean, like Kenny Clark got a sack. That's cool. James Houston, who I know has had like an injury past, has gotten a sack. They got 3 total sacks, so I guess one of the like 2 players got half a sack or something. But it's like you'd think they'd have at least better pass rush, from like their guys, but it was a struggle. I mean, like they had a lot of tackles for loss, so I guess that's good on them. They had 4 plus the 3 sacks, but so I feel like you'd expect more, considering the Giants' defense somehow had more tackles for a loss and the same amount of sacks. So, yikes.
Yeah, if I'm looking at this Cowboys team right now, their pass defense is going to hold them back
Mm-hmm.
because even with 2 guys running deep, like they were getting beat by post routes, and I think the big question is really Malik Neighbors is probably going to be our next Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase with the way he's playing. He went absurd in this game. Like he's like the next best case of like, oh, AJ Brown, rookie season in a bad situation, like with Marcus Mariota, Ryan Tannehill, and like he ended up panning out just fine. I think Malik Neighbors is going to be that similar job. So do I think Jackson Dart is going to start next week? No. I think Russell Wilson put away qualms for that with this game and the way he played. But the calls are only get louder and louder each week. But I think Malik Neighbors showed that he's pretty quarterback proof, just like DeAndre Hopkins was, just like AJ Brown was before he got traded to the Eagles. So yeah, if you're a Malik Neighbors owner, I wouldn't worry one bit.
Yeah, no, Malik Neighbors, he looks good. Wan'Dale Robbins had a really good game too. And it was like towards the end of last season too. Like Robinson, he was like an underrated player I had going into this season. Just where like last season, his situation was he'd get peppered with targets, but just like wouldn't be completions. And so now you're seeing it where he's still peppered. Like he has the 8 receptions this last week, right? And the previous week too, I know he got like a bunch of catches, just not for a lot of yardage. And so he's just been kind of an under the radar guy, especially just with how his career started, where his rookie year, he really didn't do much and everybody thought he was just going to be a bit of a gadget player. I think that's kind of where Jalen Hyatt is at this point in his career with the Giants, where they drafted a different gadget player. And so now Wan'Dale Robinson seems to be eating a little bit more as a pure receiver. So I'm happy for him there, but yeah.
I think the big question is here, like, I think they were opportunistic on the Cowboys defense. And Russell Wilson found his deep ball after a while. Now, is that sustainable? I'm not sure. And it could impact both Malik and Wan'Dale. But I think for last game, you had to feel good about it if you're the Giants for that deep passing game, because that's one thing you were missing last season. What's something else you kind of noticed throughout week 2?
To me, I'm thinking, are the Saints gonna be the Commanders of like 3 years ago? Like, is this like a potential trajectory that they have? Because obviously they lost, I think, both of their games at this point, which does obviously stink. But I feel like both of their losses have been somewhat close games, and you have obviously a lot of aging talent that you're hoping moves on. But it looks like, I mean, I know going into this offseason, they had more cap space than they ever did in the past. I'm assuming.
Surprise, surprise.
Right? And so now you're like, next offseason, are they going to have more? I'm assuming they'll have more cap space just with like how they've been working their contracts. You got a decent star receiver in Chris Olave. Rashid Shaheed's looking pretty good too. So you got two solid receivers there. You got, I mean, Alvin Kamara is old, so I don't think that's long term, but like
Juwan Johnson,
he's balling us. You got like these kind of pieces there that like it feels like how we were talking about the Commanders again. You know how like Sam Howell, we were like, it feels like it's such a good team, but it just like they're missing a couple key components plus their schedule, which gives us like they'll win maybe 2 to 3 games with Sam Howell. But it feels like they'll have a close season. And I feel like in some capacity, Sam Howell, I mean, the issue was he took a lot of sacks and threw a lot of picks, but he threw a lot of yards, which kept the games close, right? And then they draft Jaden Daniels, who is a significantly more consistent guy, and they kind of built a stronger team culture around that. And it's like, are the Saints in 3 years, obviously, like Spencer Rattler's been playing decent enough. But if you're in a position to draft a superstar quarterback in the top portion of the draft, especially just with your poor season right now, are you that kind of team where you'll surprise teams in like 2 to 3 years if you draft a superstar and you're like, wait, this team's kind of underrated or not? So I was just something that I thought was interesting. I mean, like even Spencer Rattler looked solid. So he could be the long-term option. I don't know if that's the case, but
think about what we said about this team in our division preview. What did we call them, Corstian?
What did we?
We called them the worst team in the NFL. Like they're going to have the number 1 pick, and they're not playing like it. So like they're playing their hearts out, and quite honestly, with some of the other teams that have been on that have shown what they look like the past 2 weeks, like I would not put the Saints as the worst team in the NFL right now.
Yeah,
and I think that's a big statement.
Yeah. Also, I will say, I'm also back to our draft recap though. I was saying outside of Tyler Shuck, Saints were one of my favorite draft classes for this year. And I mean, like, if that pans out beyond Tyler Shuck, like, I mean, that could be something there, to build again, like 2 years from now, there's a world. I mean, because obviously a team that sucks like right now can obviously rebound like the next like year or two. We saw that with the changes with like, Joe Burrow going to the Bengals, obviously Jaden Daniels with the Commanders like literally last year. And so we've seen these happen, and I feel like a lot of our hate on the Saints was in fact aging talent plus the quarterback question marks. Mr. Rattler has kind of eased some quarterback concerns. Again, it's all week 2, so Rattler suck just the season, which I hope doesn't, because it's good to see him well, but it looks like to be a good in like or 2, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, you were cutting out a bit, but I'm very hopeful that the Saints team can figure something out, especially towards the end, the back half of the season. That's usually when you get your team chemistry together. That's going to be important. And I think they have all the means of doing that. I want to show some clips of the Bears in a nutshell.
The Bears.
One, their defense is terrible, absolutely terrible. I don't know how else to explain it. Like I was worried about this coming out of the Vikings game, but just the amount of penalties, like on the offensive line, the defense, like they're just really undisciplined. And I think that's the big leading cause before anything that Caleb Williams is doing. And I was harsh on him last week. I'm still harsh on him this week, but it's not all on him. And I think we're seeing a bigger picture than it was just Eberflus at the problem, even though he was a pretty bad problem to have last season. So we talked about Drew Dahlman, we talked about Joe Tooney, and we talked about Jonah Jackson before the season started as really, really good pieces that they picked up over the offseason. I still have high hopes on Darnell Wright. He had a couple mishaps like the past 2 weeks, a couple penalties in particular. I think he'll clean it up. But Jonah Jackson's not been having a great season. And Braxton Jones, I want you to take a look at some of the pressures he's been allowing. So that is bad. That is just straight up bad. Like where he's just getting beat by power, like and not having any resistance. And that is there's not much Caleb can do at that point. Like that's just a crazy sack. Getting bull rushed right into the quarterback pocket. Then he gets beat on the finesse move. That happens, especially with like Aiden Rush. Like, well, I think the bull rush is the first two snaps. That is not good enough for a left tackle. And now I'm wondering to myself, do we really need our first round pick with what we picked? Like, we could have easily got Josh Simmons. What do? We picked Colstian Loveland, and he's not seeing the field that much.
Yeah.
Now, long-term wise, it's a good move for the Bears to pick Colstian Loveland. He's better than Cole Kmet as a talent, and once he picks up this offense, he's going to be really, really valuable. But right now, for what the team needs right now, I would argue Josh Simmons is a better pick just based on what he's looking like with the Chiefs. And the reason he slid was because of injury. So I'm wondering among the left tackles we have on the roster whether they can push Braxton Jones or whether he can get better. But this is kind of emblematic of a problem with the Bears where their offensive line is not magically fixed with a couple additions. It's taking time with a new system. This is their first game away in a division opponent. They just played 2 teams that combined for 29 wins. There are going to be growing pains with this offense, and I don't think a lot of Chicago fans, including myself, were expecting that. I knew there would be growing pains, but I didn't think it would be to this extent where I would have to be worried about the defense giving up 52 because they're adapting to a new system too. And just lost Jalen Johnson for the season. So there are a lot of things that are not ideal for the Bears right now, but I do see the signs where it can get better, but these are kind of the problem areas they got to identify before going anywhere.
Yeah, I feel like Jalen Johnson injury is really going to sting them for the course of the season, just because arguably Johnson really is like top 5 cornerback in the league in my opinion. So just losing someone of that caliber is really unfortunate. But yeah, I think I mean, like the struggles of the defense, I think also attribute a little bit to the offense. Where you would text me, I want to barf. And so I went and looked at the plays that have been happening at that point. And I was looking, and it's like beyond the 3 scoring drives, or the 3 times that they scored the ball, the Bears, they did not get a first down on any single one of their other drives, at least up until that point that I had seen it. And I'm like, sure, obviously the defense letting up that many points is their fault. Like, you can't be letting up that points regardless of how your offense struggles. But the offense also did them no favors, keeping them out pretty much the entirety of the game because the Bears offense couldn't sustain any drives. But yeah, a lot of this does seem like the Bears drafted almost for a next year type thing. So it looks like we're going to have another offseason of the Bears being the offseason winners. Because
4-time offseason champs, baby.
Because it's now like, okay, we're losing some of the contracts. We're going to end Cole Kmet's contract, which means, I mean, like Colston Loveland could ball out, but it really is annoying when I think a lot of people were high on the Bears this season, this current coming season with offseason acquisitions, the draft, players going into their second years and whatnot. I mean, Odunze looks phenomenal, so I mean, you got that for you. But
Odunze played a hell of a game. He's the number 1 receiver right now. Like, I don't want to hear anything from DJ Moore until he starts putting in more effort. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but like it really is a lot of times where you're expecting your first and second round picks to be kind of like almost instant impact players. And obviously, tight end, it's always tricky, especially you have a tight end there already. And then you got a decently deep wide receiver room there too. So it's like the opportunities for rookies to get instant playing time is tricky in the Bears roster's depth chart case. But still, it's like you said, getting an offensive lineman feels like a better right now impact that could still pay dividends in the coming seasons. Because, I mean,
look at Cincinnati. Look at what's going on with Cincinnati. Like, they invested so much and they haven't got that right. And it's kind of limited their spending because they're spending on all these crazy skill position towns. But look at where it's gotten them. Joe Burrow got killed. And some of it's on him. But, like, for just any team building, you want to build through the offensive line first. That's what made the Lions successful. That's why you're seeing the success in Green Bay. Like, I totally get it from that standpoint. But I do want to question, is our wide receiver room deep? Because I would agree with you at the start of the season. But I'm seeing the limitations in Zacchaeus and DJ Moore, and I don't think it's out of the realm of the possibility that neither are on the team next year. Because they're not getting the type of effort you want to see from Ben Johnson, plus the talent level. Like, I could easily see a scenario where Luther Burden beats out both of those wide receivers right now. And the only thing that's stopping him is learning the offense and getting playing time in training camp and whatnot. Especially DJ Moore. It's been pretty disappointing to see like the effort level play. He might still put up big numbers and whatnot, but I think with the way he's used, he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't win in the same ways that Rome as winning for Caleb.
Mm-hmm.
And for what they need in this offense to be precise and whatnot, DJ Moore is going to have a hard time unless he adjusts. So
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just tricky because, like, I mean, like, I envision both Loveland and Burden to be, solid contributors in the future. It's just hard to see that, you go into I think a lot of people went into this season, like I said just a second ago, a lot of hope for the Bears, just for them to have these big time struggles that I don't think a lot of people necessarily foresaw. I mean, I could kind of see what Jonah Jackson not panning out. Because he sucked with the Rams, but he was good with the Lions. And so, like, maybe he goes back to his Lions ways. But, like, beyond that, you have all these moves. And it's, like, at the point where it's, like, tight end in the first round feels like a luxury pick unless they're an instant superstar off the bat. Like, I look at Brock Bowers last year where, it's pretty deliberate that Brock Powers was going to be part of their game plan week one. You look at Tyler Warren with the Colts, right? He is the offense of the Colts at this. Like, he is the pass attack for the Colts.
He is crazy. Like, he's proven everybody wrong right
now. I mean, I feel like that's a little bit of a reach, proving everybody. He was drafted in the first round.
He proved me wrong. I'm everybody. Of course.
Yeah, I mean, like, and Colston Loveland, he could be that guy, right? I mean, like, you've seen Trey McBride sit behind someone, and now he's a superstar, right? I feel like that is likely what happens with Colston Loveland. But then at the stage where the team is at, like, can you afford the luxury of a first-round backup tight end? Especially when, like, obviously Cole Kmet, I'm not going to, like, say every team wishes they had a tight end like him, but, like, he's good enough, I think, that you're, like, for a middle-of-the-pack tight end that you can pay a middling rate tight end contract to, and then you draft. Honestly, like, imagine you spent that pick on like a top 10 receiver, top 10 pick on a receiver that you can have, like, it's basically sitting a year or two, and you're like, do you have that? And it's a tricky situation where, like,
I think the thing right now is, like, even Cole Kmet and Loveland, they're not being utilized to that degree. This has been a problem with Cole Kmet, like, going on last season too, where, like, you're like, oh, he's shown the flashes, he's had good seasons, but, like, why is he not getting enough targets and whatnot? And it's hard to justify, like, his value because he's just not getting the opportunities, So it's until those opportunities come, because the offense is more fluid, is flowing. Like, I think the biggest thing out of this is there's a lot of things the Bears need to do process-wise, from, like, pre-snap to offensive line continuity, before we just, like, okay, I'm back on the DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, Loveland, Burden, like, DeAndre Swift train. Because, like, DeAndre Swift had a touchdown. Like, Rome Odunze had 2 touchdowns. He looked outrageously good. But, like, Rome and Caleb are probably the only 2 people I feel any sort of confidence in right now. Caleb largely because he's going to be in passing situations all the time, the way the defense is looking. And Rome because Rome is winning in the right ways. He's developing. He's not having to, like, hit that rookie ball anymore. He's kind of understood where things are at now. So that's just my 2 cents on looking at the Bears offense. It's a process. It's a little bit annoying because I thought Caleb will be past it, but I can't fault him too much because it's a new offense. They have 1 game home against a really tough team with a crazy defensive coordinator, and then 1 game away where it's not ideal to try and, like, adjust your snap cadence and, like, audibles in a new system with the crowd going the way it's going, like, losing all the momentum that you did. Like, there are some excuses there where I want to give them more time.
Yeah, I'm like, I just feel bad for Bears fans where it's like the past 5 years it feels that they've been like, oh, we've added a couple really solid pieces. As you think all the way back to Allen Robinson when he was brought in a million years ago, you're like, I mean, and he balled out year 1, right? And you're like, okay, this is kind of nice. We got something in the works here. And then it doesn't pan out at all the rest of the team. And so then you're back to square one. And then you bring in DJ Moore and you're like, okay. I mean, the DJ Moore acquisition, I think, is phenomenal. Like, they absolutely fleeced the Panthers in that trade. But you're like, okay, you know, we got him. He balls out, and you're like, okay, we might have something going. And then like the next year, like, okay, nope, this isn't. And you like deconstruct everything, and then it happens. It feels like it's almost happened again. You're like, okay, we got Caleb Williams. Things are gonna work out. You know, we changed some things up. We got a different O-line. Things will pan out. And the next season, it's like, I really hope it isn't another case of we got to they move on from an aging key asset and then bring in some other new kind of flashy player, and you're like, okay, this is the guy this time, you know, and you're like, is it really? But
my fear is Caleb Williams is Jay Cutler 2.0. That's my fear. Where you see the flashes of talent, but it's not consistent enough to get to where you need to be.
Mm-hmm.
And
honestly, with how the quarterbacks have been since Jay Cutler, I think there's a small part of me that's like, honestly, the Bears with Jay Cutler, prime Cutler, wouldn't be the worst thing to see right now. Obviously, it's not ideal, but like, it's brutal, man.
You want to talk about how brutal the Broncos loss was? I'll let you have it.
Yeah, sure. Broncos choked. Will Lutz really choked more than the defense. Like, the defense predominantly did their job on that last drive to literally force a field goal. That was really hard to make. And then the penalties, whatever. But like, Will Lutz having like a 30-yard field goal that he had to make, and then he misses. I'm like, okay, buddy, cool. No more big nuts Lutz for you. Like, cool. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. And I feel like the Broncos offense kind of stalled out in the second half of the game as well.
Jen still there?
I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Okay, gotcha. I think it cut out for a bit, but now we got you on. Yeah, I mean, not fun, especially when like the Broncos technically won the game, and then you got that penalty, and then they got a re-kick, and then all of a sudden everybody's going wild. But the Dimes dive, like they got their own nickname moniker for Danny Dimes, and like he looks like one of the best quarterbacks right now in a league. And I don't think we were saying this. Like being an Anthony Richardson truther, like this is great for the Colts. This is bad for my hopes and like the prospect, but like Tyler Warren, we just talked about him. Jonathan Taylor, like this is the best thing you could have hoped for. The offensive line we just talked about. Yeah, like Colts are firing on all cylinders, but Art Franklin had a day, man. 8 of 9, 89 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 42-yard catch. On top of that, J.K. Dobbins, again, he's the bell cow until further notice. Like no sign of R.J. Harvey in this game. Like he looked like a starter by all means. So got some positive things working for you, especially because Courtland Sutton didn't play, right? Or no, he did.
He did.
He got 1 through 6. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, they had a couple shots towards him, and they just couldn't quite connect, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I just felt like the Broncos offense really stalled out in the second half because like you go into halftime and Bo Nix has got 3 passing touchdowns, and you're like, what happened after, right? Like, not much.
I have him in fantasy for one of my leagues. I'm like, great, this looks awesome.
So he's gonna put up a Jared Goff week, 5 touchdowns, yippee, you know. But then all of a sudden halftime happens, and you're like, oh. We're the Bears. I'm just kidding.
Wow.
Yeah, no.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Broncos also costed me a 11-pick parlay, but that's beyond the point.
You got 10 money lines?
Yeah, it was a bonus bet, but so it wasn't anything, but still it was cool. I got 10 out of 11 things correct.
Dude, if you had that on a round robin, you would have cashed.
Yeah.
It's all good though.
But also, I did predict only 2 games incorrectly, just on like another thing. But that's beyond the point.
Which games?
The Vikings Falcons and then the Broncos Colts were the 2 that I got wrong. On a 15 way, but that's another thing.
Should have known better. The Vikings have only had 1 good quarter, man.
Yeah, and another one I predicted the Falcons, but then the Broncos again threw, and that's the one that Broncos threw, but that's beyond the point.
Speaking of the Falcons, look at this snap here by Bijan.
Mm-hmm.
The first quarter, Bijan was just insane, and like I think they messed this up where it's direct snap, but look at how much he's making. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I just want you to count the number of defenders that are trying to chase him. It's kind of ridiculous. So one missed tackle. You got two guys converging on him. Jukes out a guy unintentionally. Jukes out this guy with a speed. Byron Murphy missed tackle over here.
Mm-hmm.
And took a guy like shoving him to get down. He had that all game, and like he completely just transforms like the Atlanta offense. Like as much as I'm hyped about Mike Penix, it's nice to have a guy like Bijan out in your corner. Kyle Pitts winning one-on-one with the slants. Like it wasn't Drake London's best games, but like this Atlanta team is scary, man. They have a lot of key weapons, and I think even Saquon said it. Where like Bijan can do some moves that like Saquon can't even do, and that's kind of scary for the rest of the league. So this is just another Bijan appreciation post over here. So
yeah,
just have to show that.
Yeah, and which I think makes it extra impressive too is I think going into the season at least as well, the Vikings had considered what was considered probably like a top 5, maybe top 10 defense in the league as well, and so just like being able to dice up pretty much this considered elite defense, I think is a really nice thing for the Falcons here. And I think the Falcons do have a bright future ahead of them too.
Yeah. If you don't got any more, I think one guy who does have a bright future but needs to clean up something in particular, Ashton Genty. Last night against the Chargers. This was pretty bad. Fake to him, and he just gets pushed all the way back. That is crazy. And the rest of the play stops blocking, and that does not help Geno at all. Like, so that's one where I'm worried about him, where he could be just restricted to a 2-down back in the league right now if he doesn't clean up his pass pro. This is just one rep, I get it, but this is an example of what rookies don't really prepare themselves for when they enter the league. Even though Genty was he's probably one of the best running backs ever in college football in recent memory. Season he put up. Like, to be a 3-down back, you got to do all of these things well. Otherwise, you're not going to get your pass catching and running opportunities because your offense is going 3 and out on every snap. So that's one area where it's a little bit harsh, but in order for Genty to grow in his overall game, he's going to have to be able to do this pass well.
Yeah, but I mean, that is like a historic issue that a lot of rookie running backs do have coming out of college. It's why you see a lot of rookie running backs not get a lot of play time early off in the season. Like we saw what Trayvon Henderson.
Though. Scadaboo looked nice at it 1 week ago.
Yeah, but like, again, it's like one guy out of the class so far, you know, that you're like, oh, this guy has shown to be a good blocker, but also that was, I feel like, a considered strength of his coming out of the draft, like coming into the draft, into the league, was the fact that he did have some pass blocking capability. His big concern was just like his overall like football speed and like athletic ability. He's strong enough. I think he's a great power back, but that was a question. It was just like, is he fast enough to be competitive in the league? It seems like he does have that football speed, which is nice. But that's considered why he fell. But then I was about to say with Trayvon Henderson, you're like, oh, he balled out in preseason. Looks like he's going to take Ramondre Stevenson's job, which I think he eventually does. But you look at Ramondre Stevenson, who had a bunch of fumbles last year, is seemingly still the lead back with the Patriots right now. And it's just the fact that he can pass.
He had a nice 29-yard catch, too. That was like kind of filthy on the sideline.
Yeah. And so, I mean, you look at those things and it's like, that's why veterans, and you even look at like J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey, right? Like potentially Harvey is able to make those runs similar to J.K. Dobbins, but I feel like just Dobbins has more experience in pass pro, obviously compared to R.J. Harvey, and that's why you see him out there more. And that's honestly, to an extent, probably why you see Tyler Bidet getting as many snaps as he does in the Broncos offense as well, just because he has years of experience, at least 1 year of experience. But that 1 year, just learning some pass pro, I think just goes to show how much you can learn over the course of a season, being required to pass block as a running back.
Yeah, and this is not to put shame on like Ashton Genty. Like he could easily get better at this over the course of the season. It's just the second week, but these are just areas of like this is where young players got to grow and learn, right? So speaking of which, we can kind of go through some of these rookies. I know you were excited to talk about them, so we'll kind of look at a couple of these reps. We'll start with Tech McMillan, and then we can go into our overreaction segment real quick. So let's take a look at him. So right out the gate, I think the big thing is look at how this defender falls down immediately. Like he is not expecting Ted McMillan to adjust as quickly as he did to the ball, and the way he came back to the ball, that's a great sign. Another catch there, finding the open space.
Yeah.
You see the run after catch ability. He's able to separate from DBs.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this just goes to show like his versatility in overall route running, where it's like he's good at these like hitchback, quick routes. But then he also does have like that mid-range, at least route running ability. Because I think I think maybe I was assuming from your like what some of your concerns were with him, but like I think a lot of people thought he just had big play potential, like getting those deep balls, being a playmaker in that capacity, which I mean I think is probably his biggest strength here. And that's why you see him like being forced to make some of these circus catches, right? But I mean, just from these clips here, we see that they're having him do these kind of shorter routes where he's able to take advantage of his larger size to basically force defensive backs to play off, but also be an elite route runner where he can just do these quick cuts on these short routes to get the ball for easy catches and protect the ball with his big body too.
I think the thing that stands out to me is I think one of my concerns is probably like this rep in particular. You have one goal line rep where they didn't quite connect with Bryce Young, but I think those could easily connect. But watch this one here. He's at the top of your screen, the 20-yard line. And see how he's getting pushed easily to the boundary? He doesn't have much space to work with even to make that catch. That's one area where he's probably going to have to, if I were him, I would sell more to the inside. You see how immediately he probably took one step inside, but then immediately went to the outside. He kind of restricted the amount of space he has for Bryce Young to place that ball. So if you spend like a couple steps on the inside, then make a sudden move outside, you give yourself more room, margin for error for Bryce Young to throw that ball. So he's not trying to fit it in a tight area above the cornerback's head, but with only 1 yard to work with. So that's the kind of thing where it's like with Bryce Young and him, if they're able to narrow that down, you'll kind of make defenses play for like, especially like this last rep where, not this catch here, but the one where the cornerback kind of bites up on the short route because that's all like they were using Tech McMillan in. You can kind of make defenses pay because you can kind of see him win all over the field. I agree with you. Like he looks like he's their wide receiver one if he puts everything together. But you're going to have to do the little things on your end to help out Bryce Young, maximize your use as a receiver.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know, like something that also, I think, I mean, just Panthers talk in general, right? Something I think that helps is just like Jalen Coker coming back eventually. Because, I mean, like Hunter Renfrow, he had a decent game. I think he had like 7 catches, but for like 40 yards or something. So it's like not great average depth of target, it seems, at least from that stat line right there. But then you look at Xavier Legette, who you drafted in the first round literally, the year prior, where he had 8 targets, like 2 catches for like negative 1 yards. And you're like, that can't be your other guy across the field from this. And it's like, I think about how much more like space like Ted McMillan can have in these football games if literally the guy opposite of him can like gain a year. I had more receiving yards than Xavier Legette last like week 2 of the season because I had 0 and he had -1. Like, And so it is.
Yeah, Jatavian Sanders had a great game too, but like you can't have Bryce Young throwing 55 passes. You just can't.
Yeah.
That was more than twice the amount than Kyler Murray had thrown, and like the Cardinals were still able to put up 27. So it's like it's about efficiency and like the overall offense. But like if Leggett showed up, like you're not seeing all these, like you're not seeing like McMillan have like 10 targeted force fed at him, like where they have to feed him short. You're seeing him win where it matters most. So I think it'll help him out. It'll help the overall offense out, like if he gets that help.
Yeah. Let's see.
Want to take a look at the Titans receiver?
Oh yeah, we can do that. Just a sec. Carolina Panthers. Oh. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay. I thought you were trying to pull up a stat, but
no, I was just pulling something for the Titans.
Okay. So I didn't watch the Rams and the Titans games, so this will be new for me. Let's see.
And this is featuring Alec Iomanor. He's the rookie wide receiver that they took in like 4th round, maybe 3rd. Oh my god.
I was trying to see if there were details.
4th round.
Okay. I knew it was a mid-round pick, but I just didn't know what round here. So went in the zone, pretty nice. That wasn't a great camera angle, but way to attack the ball, went on timing, sell the vertical. You would like to see the turnaround be sharper, but I mean, he won.
Yeah.
Could fight for the ball better. Oh, that's a great catch. That is a fantastic catch. Let's see here. Keeps the ball high, pinned to his shoulder. There's no way that defender could poke it out. Wow. And that's a great throw by Cam Ward, if anything.
Yeah, Cam Ward looked
he
really
had
good.
One spot.
Oh, this was a crazy play too.
Okay, what the? Wait a minute. He's all the way here?
Yeah.
And he's trying to throw all the way here?
Yes, sir.
Oh my gosh. You're sideways, by the way.
I just saw that.
Okay. That is great job, like finding a spot. I wouldn't recommend that though, Cam Ward, but it worked. You got the arm count there. That's insane.
Yeah. And I think just like, yeah, go ahead.
Last comment here. Like you would hope he wins on the boundary just like Tet. Same problem here. Immediately goes to the boundary. Doesn't sell inside hard enough to give Cam Ward enough space to win on the outside. So where's the ball get placed? You got like maybe half an inch of room with the out of bounds mark. That's not great like margin for error as a thrower, like run after catch possibility. So that's a really hard pass.
Yeah. But it's just like really impressive, it seems, how much Cam Ward already trusts Iomanor, where on that play where he throws it cross body into the end zone, I don't know if we can go back or we can find that quick, but like you can see Cam Ward like kind of waving his arm, I think trying to direct somebody to run across the field basically to like create some type of separate, like trying to create some separation where he.
Oh yeah, I see it. You
Where
just
he points out, and so obviously it's a risky throw, but like it was something that he saw as an opportunity, and that's kind of why he takes it there, you know. Where I think without him deliberately asking for someone to turn back, I don't think he goes for that type of throw. But just the amount of trust that he already has in Iomanor, it makes sense why the Titans announced that he was going to be a starter week 1, even though he was 4th round draft capital. I think it was just a really impressive look. I think he was a guy that wasn't talked about quite as much as a lot of these other rookie receivers kind of drafted to the like 3rd round and beyond, where obviously Isaac Tesla I mean, he makes these circus catches anyway, so I understand the hype around
He had
him.
an insane catch against the Bears. I was
Mhm.
so mad about that because
Yeah.
it should have been 21-14 at halftime.
Mhm.
But the refs they just hate the Bears. They got money on the line, so
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, and then I felt like I heard more about Jalen Lane, the fourth round pick for the Commanders as well, where people were hyping him up. Obviously, there's a lot of hype because anything connected to a high octane offense like the Commanders is going to get hype. That's why you have JCM getting all the Bill chants. I mean, I'm a fan of Bill too.
Prayers up for Eckler, by the way. That was
Oh, that was brutal.
sad.
Yeah, and with how old he is and the nature of the
31.
injury, it seems like this is probably the end of his starting productive career, where he might come back with just knowing his work ethic, he might be able to come back and be a kind of vet minimum rotational plays a couple snaps a game kind of guy, but it's hard to see him come back. But he's been phenomenal throughout his career. So honestly, props to him, going from undrafted free agent running back to basically making Melvin Gordon irrelevant with the Chargers and being
Remember
a
that? That was insane.
superstar.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a career right there. So yeah,
Mhm.
prayers up for Austin Eckler. That sucks. But I know we're running on an hour, so I'm gonna quickly try to go through these overreactions.
Mhm.
What's one thing you're overreacting about? You could either be satire or real life, like for reals. What's one thing you're overreacting to after 2 weeks?
After 2 weeks, okay, crazy out of the park overreaction right here is Eagles could miss the playoffs.
Okay, get off the call, man. No way that's happening. How? Explain.
Their offense is so stagnant right now. Where you look at I look at the 2 games that they've won right now, right? And it's like you're so close to losing both. Like you're so close to being 0-2. Obviously, I think there's some mental aspect of the game that obviously gives them the edge in some of these situations, but you can't keep putting on this type of offensive performance and expect to have long-term success where these guys because you're okay, we can run the ball through Saquon Barkley and he has his superstar moments, but it feels like it hasn't been consistent enough from Saquon to justify the sheer lack of the pass attack. And I mean, if it keeps on going this way, it's are the Eagles just going to be okay with getting these really, really ugly wins? Sure, they're wins, but they're not ones I'd be super comfortable with if I was an Eagles fan looking towards the future. But then also I'm well, it's a division rival and it's the Chiefs, but also the Cowboys have looked whatever. They put up a lot of points against the Giants, yippee. And then the Chiefs have just kind of looked not as strong. Imagine the Chiefs lose this week against the Giants. You know how crazy that would be. But yeah, the initial take was Eagles make the playoffs, but likely lose in round 1. But the crazy take out of this is they might miss the playoffs if I mean, obviously, I don't envision them getting the 1 seed if the offense keeps playing the way it does, but that could always change. We're only in week 2.
I mean, I'll go on the other side of the argument. Chiefs are not winning the AFC West.
Oh, I can
And
agree with that.
And it's not so much as how they're looking right now because I think they'll bounce back, but it's just how impressive the Chargers have looked.
Mhm.
They've handily beat the Raiders. They impressively beat the Chiefs.
Mhm.
Even without Rashawn Slater, the way that team is firing on all cylinders and the way Justin Herbert's looking, they're the team to beat in the division. And I know we say this all the time about the Chargers, and I'm probably just screw them over by saying this, but they're and the Khalil Mack injury too. That was rough, but I think with Jesse Minter's defense and the way Herbert's playing under Jim Harbaugh,
Mhm.
it's their division to lose with a two-game lead over them.
Mhm.
Only way I don't see it happening is if the Broncos step it up and sort of cannibalize some of those division wins from both the Chiefs and the Chargers, where it just becomes a three-team race. than is anybody. So right now, I think I put the Chargers head and shoulders above the Chiefs, especially with the weapons gone.
Yeah. Think my next take. Also, yeah, I agree with the Chargers take. I think it's the Chargers to lose at this point. They look really good right now.
I think it's an overreaction just because we're used to the Chiefs winning year after year after year, right? So
yeah, but my next point is for the first time in what seems a couple years at least, the NFC as a whole looks deliberately stronger than the AFC. Where I think the NFC playoff race will be a lot closer than the AFC's playoff race will be this year, compared to how I feel like the past couple of years it's been like, okay, we have kind of a decent idea of how the playoff picture of the NFC looks. The 7 seed is kind of maybe a toss-up, but outside of that, the top 6 have been kind of like, by like mid-season, you're like, okay, these are probably going to be the teams that make the playoffs or the dominant ones, whereas like the AFC are like, honestly, from like 5, 6, and 7 really is a toss-up, and it's been an absolute race to figure out who gets those spots. Where like, just because the NFC side, it's like, okay, guys out of the playoffs just suck astronomically, and then the AFC guys, it's like the top 3 teams that missed the playoffs in the AFC probably handily beat the top 3 teams that missed the playoffs in the NFC. But this year I have that backwards.
I can see that with the way the Lions and the Packers have looked like over recent seasons, and then the Rams 2-0, like handily beating the Texans. Like you certainly have a crazy argument there. What I will push back on is who are those 5, 6, 7 teams right now for the NFC? As you would say,
Okay,
like
NFC.
are you trying to decipher between 5, 6 teams for those spots, or is it clearly like these 5, 6, 7 teams, and they're probably better than some of these division teams?
Yeah, because I mean, like I look at what I'm looking at the schedule here. I should probably go by division. NFL by division. Okay. Conference. Like, all right. Where, like, the NFC, I'm like, Green Bay's good, obviously. The Eagles, while I have my hot take about them, they're winning right now. The Buccaneers, I think, are going to be a strong contender. 49ers, I think, have a bounce back here this year. The Cardinals are looking
in the NFC West are 2-0.
Right. The Cardinals look solid enough right now. I don't think they are like one of the best teams, but I think they're competing for a playoff spot this year. The Rams, I think, are another strong team. The Falcons, I think, are going to be a competitive team. The Commanders are a competitive team. The Lions are going to be a competitive team. The Vikings could be a competitive team, and the Seahawks could also be a competitive team. And so that leaves.
What about the Bears?
No, not right now. But that realistically leaves what? The Cowboys, the Panthers, Bears, Saints, and Giants as kind of like the bottom feeding teams. And I'm like, even that, I mean, like the Bears could turn it around midseason and then be in that race just as much as these guys, which leaves it down to 4 teams, that I'm doubting. And let's say the Cowboys rebound just with everybody healthy. Now you're at 3 teams in the NFC that I'm like, are probably the bottom feeders, which are the Panthers, the Saints, and the Giants, who I'm like are probably the teams that I could see missing the playoffs. Like the Bears and the Cowboys were the question marks, but outside of that, it's like every other team I think is competing for a playoff spot. Where I see like the AFC, and I'm like the Colts. I guess they're the strong. You have the Colts, Bills, Chargers, Bengals, the Ravens, and the Chiefs is my like 6 strongest teams. You could maybe, and then you have like a larger middling pack of like middle average teams and like bad teams where I see the Browns, the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Titans. The Jaguars, honestly, being like not so great teams. And then you could say the Texans, the Broncos, the Steelers, and the Patriots are like the middling teams that you're like, okay, these are teams that feel like they fight for a 7 seed based off what we see in at least in weeks 1 and 2. And then you have your top 5-ish teams or whatever the rest of the league, where the NFC, I feel like outside of the bottom 3 teams, it could be a toss-up. And so that's just the hot take I got there.
Yeah. I think there's less bottom feeders in the NFC than the AFC, and I don't think we're used to seeing that, considering the amount of quarterbacks heavy, and obviously the amount of injuries. I think has a lot to show for it because like towards the season, not you and me in particular, but we're like, oh, Jets could be a sneaky playoff team, Patriots could be a sneaky playoff team, AFC West is crazy, everybody got better, and Jacksonville got a new coach and stuff like that, and Colts come out of nowhere. So I just look at the Colts, Steelers, Patriots, Jets, Raiders, and they could all be teams that I could see them being as good as the middling pack of the NFC. And I don't think we necessarily had those teams and those kind of conversations at the beginning of the season starts. So I could come to grips and agree with you as of right now. I still think it's early where it's like, maybe these teams turn around because you have both the Texans and the Chiefs at 0-2 and the Ravens at 1-1. I don't think those teams are as indicative of where they are in the standings past 2 weeks.
Well, yeah, I mentioned I kept those 2 teams out of the bottom feeders, but
yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying. But if I'm looking at that compared to like the NFC, most of the teams in the NFC that we kind of expected to be 2-0 are 2-0. Right? It's probably only the Lions and Commanders that are probably surprises. But like, we knew one of the Commanders or the Packers would be 2-0 and 1-1. So it's, that's an interesting hot take. I think for me, I don't know. I want to say the 49ers still win the division with Mac Jones for the rest of the season. Like I think that would be a hot take because Rams have Matthew Stafford. Cardinals have always got better year to year. But the way Mac Jones looked, granted it was against the Saints, I'm not too concerned with this 49ers offense, even with all the stuff that's been happening to them all season.
Yeah. I can trust Mac Jones with the 49ers, I think. I mean, additionally, like a lot of Brian Thomas's historic rookie year comes from throws from Mac Jones. And so it's like Brian Thomas looked like a superstar with Mac Jones throwing it to him predominantly, which I'm like, obviously, I don't know what his ceiling is because obviously he got cut from the Patriots when the Patriots sucked or traded. But I think he could fit in a system like the 49ers.
Well, it was rumored the 49ers had wanted him during the draft too. So this is like his weird way of going all around. But do you got one more overreaction for us, or you're out?
I kind of said the one earlier with the moving on from Trevor Lawrence, like Tua, from the beginning of the episode. But
I guess for my last one, it's it might not be a hot take, but Falcons are going to be a top 4 team in the NFC. I think they're winning the division. I get it; they just lost the Buccaneers, but the way that offensive and the defense are looking at the same time, like I'm probably pro Falcons this season, just with the way they look. I'm a Michael Penix believer, and as long as they continue to stay poised, for me, I gravitate towards poised quarterbacks, like when Deshaun Watson was in Houston, Joe Burrow, like cool, calm, and collected. I see that in Michael Penix, and that's what makes me want to believe in him and this team in general. So I'm all in on the Falcons being a top 4 seed.
That's valid. I see the vision.
All right, that's it for us, guys. Thank you for watching this amazing week 2. You can follow us on our Instagram page, amon.a.mission. Once I figure out the personal life stuff and stop leaking around, we'll update it. YouTube channel on Amon Mission. Corstian, any last words for the viewers?
Nothing, just but peacing out.
Alrighty. You guys heard the man. You guys take it easy.
Yay.